Hey guys, so I got a request to do a save system, so let's do that. So let's start by going to our blueprints folder, right-clicking, making a new folder and calling it game. And in here we're going to make a game instance. So we're going to right-click, blueprint class, and search game instance. A game instance always runs in the background, and it's sort of like a game mode, but not really, and except it's persisted between levels. So we'll call it GI, BPL for Blueprinterlands game instance. And now we need to set this game instance, so we'll go to Edit, Project Settings, and we'll search game instance and set it there. Alright, so we'll file, save all. Now we need a save, so we'll right click, blueprint class, save game is what we'll search for. And this is where we'll put the variables, so we'll call it save BPL save. And in there, we'll store the variables we want to save. Now there's a few ways you can handle a save system. For example, Borderlands, it spawns you in at the start of the game in your ship or at a spawn point, and all the enemies spawn in as you go. So that way you don't need to save every enemy location. Whereas other games like say Half-Life, when you quick save, it'll save every enemy location. We could do it either way, but we'll start with just doing just the player and their weapons and their stats, and we'll go from there. So we'll go to the save, and we'll add a variable, and it will be a transform, and it will be called player transform. Then we'll add another new variable, and it will be a base weapon, and we'll make it a class reference, not an object reference, class reference. And we'll change this to an array. That way we can have more than one weapon later. So we'll name it weapons, and then we'll make another new variable, and this one will be called weapon stats, and this one will be a weapon stats struct that we made earlier. So compile and save. So let's go make the function in our game instance to save the game. So we'll right click, make a new custom event, save game, and we're going to check does save game exist, and the slot name will be save. Oops, accidentally loaded Visual Studio. Just gotta wait for that now. Just close that. Alright, so does save game exist? If it doesn't exist, we want to create save game object. We want to make sure we select our save game, and we'll promote this to a variable called temp save. I'll explain why we're calling it temp save in a second. You need to be a bit careful with saving saves to variables. If it does exist, we want to load game from slot, and we'll search the slot save, and we will cast this to our save, BPL save. You only need to cast it if you're loading it, not if you're creating it, I think. And we will promote this to temp save. Alright, so now we can get our temp save, and we'll just convert this to a validated get. That way we can connect these like this and be fancy. And off here, we will set player transform. Now we could do get player pawn and get their location, but we're going to do something fancy, which is saving on shutdown. And if you shut down, you won't be able to get player pawn. I'm not entirely sure why, it just doesn't seem to work. So we're going to actually just get all actors of class, and the class will be first person character. And we know there'll be one, but we could just do an isValid check just to make sure. We'll branch that. Hold B and click to make a branch. So we will get, if there is one, we will get 0, and we will get actor transform, and we will promote this there. Okay, and now we can do weapons. So get weapons and get weapon stats. And off our first person character, we will get current weapon. Whoops. Get current weapon. And if this is not equal to none, then we will set some values. So we will get weapons, and we will set array element, and we want to set index 0, and we want to get current weapon, get class, and we will connect that, and we want to make sure we hit size to fit. That way it'll add it if there isn't one already there, or update it if there is already one there. So Control C, Control V the array element, and we will do the same thing for weapon stats. Of current weapon, get weapon stats, and connect that to item. And now, off our temp save, we can save game to slot and make it save. Make sure you connect it to false here too, so if current weapon is none, it will also save. And there we go. Now I'm going to explain briefly, this might be a bit confusing, don't try not to overthink it, why you want to be careful with setting saves to variables. So when we load this game and we set it to a variable, this variable will always be the save when it was loaded. So if we set this variable and then we get a new weapon and we save that, but then we get another new weapon and we save it again, we're going to be overwriting the first update to the save, because it's always going to be the save when it was loaded when you set it to a variable. So just to explain it another way, if we were to set this at the beginning of the game and then always use temp save to save it, that wouldn't quite work because it'd be overriding it. So basically, just always use load game from slot, and if you save it to a variable, always make your changes and then save it again, and then the next time just always load it again. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. Probably was. I explained it kind of badly. Just be careful with setting variables. You don't even need to. You can just always load game from slot when you want to make changes and just use it here. And so yeah. So if you're noticing weird oddities, just check that out just in case. But for now, this will always work because we'll just always put our stuff in this function and it should always work. Okay. So now we need to go and make a way to load this and make a way to actually call it. So we're going to start by getting rid of the character in the level. And we're going to search for start, and then there is a network player start. We'll just get rid of that. We'll just add in a new player start. Excuse me. So we need a game mode now. So let's right click in our game folder, make a new Blueprint class, and it'll be type game mode. Whoops. Game mode base. And we'll call it GM BPL game mode. And we'll go in there, and on the event graph, we're going to actually, we'll start with the class defaults. We'll change the default pawn class to none, so that way we don't start with anything. Excuse me. On begin play, we will check does save game exist, and the slot will be save. If it doesn't exist, we need a new custom event, new game, new game. If it does exist, we want another custom event called load game, and we will call that if the save does exist, load game. Alright, so for new game, we want to set default player default pawn set default pawn class and set it to first person character, and then we will restart player at player start, but we need to get the player start, so we will get all actors of class player start. Just make sure there's an is valid index. Hold B to make a branch, and if there is one, we will get number 0, connect that to start spot, and for new player we will get player controller. Now for load game, we need to do we'll do the same thing here, and we will load game from slot, save, we will cast this, and we will get player transform, and then we will restart player at transform, get our player controller, and there we go. So we're kind of good to go. The only thing is if you load game while you already have a pawn, it'll act funny. It won't change your spot. So we'll just get player pawn equals 0. If it's none, then we will do this. I think that'll work. I didn't test this, so I might need to make some changes, but should work. So if the player pawn is equal to none, then do this. If it's false, we will destroy actor. Actually, no, we'll just open level, and we will get current level name and just connect these, so it'll just restart the level. It's kind of lazy, but it's just that'll be fine. So I think that's good now. So we'll compile and save this, and now we'll go into our level, and we'll go window world settings, make sure you have that, and if you do, it's over here. Change it from first person game mode to GM BPL game mode. File, save all. So now we need a way to actually save the game. So we're going to do something kind of fancy, which is going into our game instance, and we're going to do event shutdown, and then save game. So when we shut down the game, it'll save our location. So file, save all. Let's check if this works. So we're going to play. So we started there, so the new game worked. Let's go behind this guy, shut down. Let's play again and see if it loads us. And it loads us in our right spot. So let's go over here, hit escape, load in again, and we're good to go. It's loading us in our right spot. So that's kind of good. It's an okay thing. But just to make it easier to test, we'll go to our first person BP, blueprints, first person character. We'll do Q, we'll do get game instance, cast, and save game. And we'll do, I guess, no, it's reloading, so E key, get game mode, cast to BPL game mode, and then load game. So now we can test it a little bit easier, so let's play. So we'll go over here into the corner, hit Q to save, walk back over here, let's load our game, and it loads us properly. Alright, so that's a decent start, that's not bad. But when our weapons aren't saving yet, so let's do that. So let's go into our first person character, and we will do a new function, and we'll call it load game, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we will load game from slot, save, and we will do cast, and we will get weapons, and is valid index. If it is, we need a function to actually spawn the weapon and attach it, so let's make that now. So spawn and attach weapon. So we will do create actor from, or spawn actor from class rather. And we'll just drag the class over here, but we'll change the class to base weapon class reference. And just drag this back into here. That should fix that. No, really refresh. Oh, we need to transform, obviously. So we'll just drag our, well, just drag our camera. It doesn't matter. We're gonna attach it. So spawn and attach weapon. Get transform. Get world transform. Okay. So and then we need to. How did we do that again? I forget how we actually attached the weapons. I think it was trace for interactables. What was it? Totally forget how we actually interact. So just interact. Sorry about that. So just interact. And that should be good. We could do set weapon stats. And we'll connect this here as well. So let's go back to our load game. If it is a valid index, we will spawn and attach weapon. And we could just make an array, so we'll just do for each. No, well, that's not right. We want to add the others to the inventory, so ignore what I just said. We'll just do get. We'll do the inventory in a bit later. So change the weapon class here. And then get weapon stats. And get a copy. And you would make sure these arrays, they need to be the same, these inputs. And I think that's good to go. So we need to go to the event graph and on begin play. Do we already have a begin play? Let's search begin play. Yes. Okay, so on begin play we can load game. And we'll also go back into there. We'll do does save game exist? Save, and only load it if the save game exists. Okay, so let's test this out. So let's go to File, Save All. So I'm going to play. Oh, this is a cool weapon. I like this. Let's pick this up. Let's go over here. And let's quit the game. We got an error. It's not trying to read property character. Right, because first person character, event graph, creating it. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just do character, editable, expose on spawn, get rid of this, and then go to the first person character, refresh this node, and then self. And I think that should work. I'm not sure what that went wrong. So let's go over here. F. Okay, so we got this weapon. So let's hit escape. Let's play again. It's loading us in the spot, but it's not spawning our weapon right. So begin play, new game, save. So let's go to our game instance. Sorry about this. I thought I had it, but I guess not. Let's get current weapon. Um, Oops. Sorry about this. I just need to go over it again to make sure. Where is interact? I apologize for this. Interact. Okay, so we're setting this stuff here. Right. So let's just do a new custom event. Attach weapon. I thought we had it on the weapon itself, so that's my mistake. So we'll just do this like this. Attach weapon. Connect here. Attach weapon. So spawn and attach weapon. Off here, we will do attach weapon. So I just made a new function that calls the attachment stuff, just so we can do it like this. So let's see if this works now. Alright, it's working. It's loading us in with our gun. So what if we on a different gun? Load this gun. We'll quit the game. Hit play. We have our gun in our location. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for this video, just to get started. So we have our way to start the game. It loads us in our right spot. Loads us in with our weapon. We can hit Q to save it. I'll just walk over here. We can hit E again and it loads us in. So it doesn't save everything. Like for example, if we kill this guy and then we load in again, he's still there. Well, I guess that's kind of how it should be, but if we hit save and then we load, he'll be there. So not everything is saved. So we'll need to figure out exactly how we want to do that as we build the game. For example, like I said before, Borderlands, it spawns you into the start spot and enemies spawn in, so you don't need to worry about enemy locations for things like that. Whereas Half-Life, what Half-Life might do is when we save, it would get this enemy, and it would do it basically like we did for the player. It would save their transform, and then on begin play, it would load them in at their spot. You would just save their class and spawn them in. So we'll kind of update the save system as we go. I think that's enough to get started, and that'll should be able to teach you multiple ways to do various things. So thanks for watching this video. In the next video, we'll start working on getting some enemies going and get some actual gameplay. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.